We all have goals we want to achieve, dreams we want to realize, but sometimes it feels like we're running in place, held back by an invisible force. We often tell ourselves a familiar story about what that force is. We think the biggest obstacle in our life is a lack of time, a shortage of resources, or maybe just not enough raw motivation. But what if that story is wrong? What if the biggest obstacle in your life isn't a lack of motivation at all? What if it's actually your own brain trying to keep you safe? It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Why would the very organ designed to help you succeed actively work against you? The truth is, our brains evolved for a world very different from the one we live in today. They are wired with a powerful, primitive instinct: avoid threats and seek comfort. And in our modern world, that threat isn't a predator in the bushes. It's the possibility of failure, the fear of judgment, or the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. To understand this, think about the last time you avoided something important, that feeling of internal resistance, that quiet negotiation with yourself to just do it later. It's a universal experience. Maybe you kept putting off applying for that dream job. You had the resume ready, you knew the deadline was approaching, but the thought of putting yourself out there, of facing potential rejection, felt so overwhelming that checking your notifications seemed far more manageable. Or maybe you delayed starting your business. You spent weeks, even months, in the research phase, endlessly tweaking your business plan or perfecting a logo, all while avoiding the crucial, scary step of actually launching and finding your first customer. Or perhaps it was something smaller, a new habit you wanted to build. You told yourself you'd begin tomorrow. Again. That single word, tomorrow, offers a moment of relief, but it's a temporary fix that allows the pressure and guilt to build day after day. It feels incredibly frustrating because you consciously know what needs to be done. You have the clarity, you understand the steps. The disconnect between your intention and your action is where the real struggle lies. But somehow, when the moment comes to take that first step, you freeze. You still don't do it. Most people look at this behavior and label it with a single dismissive word: laziness. We internalize this judgment, believing we lack discipline or willpower. But modern psychology and neuroscience tell a very different and far more compassionate story. This isn't a character flaw. It's a survival mechanism. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on this internal conflict. We'll uncover the scientific reasons why your brain secretly resists the very success you crave. We'll explore how these patterns of self-sabotage develop from a young age and become ingrained habits. And most importantly, we'll walk through practical, evidence-based strategies you can use to retrain your mind, work with your brain instead of against it, and finally, stop getting in your own way. Now, let's look under the hood. Your brain craves predictability. It prefers the familiar path, even when growth awaits. To understand why we get stuck, we need to look at our brain's core programming. It has a powerful built-in preference for what is familiar over what might actually be more beneficial. Think of it like this. Your brain is an efficiency expert. It creates well-worn neural pathways for everything you do repeatedly, making those actions automatic and energy-saving. Anything new requires building a new path, and that takes effort. Let's visualize this with two paths. One path represents comfort and familiarity. It's a smooth, easy road where you know every turn. The other path represents uncertainty, growth, and change. It's less traveled, and the destination isn't fully visible. Your brain is constantly scanning for uncertainty, and its safety bias defaults to the path it knows, even if that path keeps you stuck. This is why even a positive change, like starting a new career or relationship, can feel deeply threatening. It introduces the one thing your brain is wired to avoid: the unknown. To keep you on that familiar path, your brain's internal risk manager starts asking a series of protective questions. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? These questions aren't you. They are your brain's ancient survival system kicking in. They are designed to activate avoidance, urging you to retreat to the safety of what you already know. First, let's talk about the fear of failure. This is perhaps the most common reason for self-sabotage. The logic, though flawed, is simple. If you never truly try, you can never truly fail. It's a defense mechanism. By not starting that project, not applying for that job, or not asking that person out, you protect yourself from the potential pain of rejection or disappointment. You remain in a state of what if, which can feel safer than a definitive no. For instance, someone might dream of writing a book, picturing it on a bestseller list, but they never actually write the first chapter. The blank page is less threatening than a potentially mediocre draft. Or consider someone who wants to get fit. They might buy the gym membership and the workout clothes, but they keep putting off their first session. Why? Because what if they can't keep up? What if they look foolish? By not going, they avoid confronting these fears, but they also sabotage their health goals. The takeaway here is that avoiding failure also means avoiding growth, as failure is often a stepping stone to success. The second reason, surprisingly, is the fear of success. While it sounds counterintuitive, success brings its own set of pressures, new expectations, greater responsibility, and increased visibility. Suddenly, there's more to lose. This can feel overwhelming, causing us to subconsciously pull back right when we're on the verge of a breakthrough. Imagine an entrepreneur who has spent months building a fantastic new app. They're ready to launch, but they keep finding one last thing to fix. They postpone the launch not because the product is flawed, but because the idea of managing a successful business with employees, customer demands, and public scrutiny feels intimidating. The takeaway is that success changes your life, and that change, even if positive, can be scary enough to make you sabotage your own hard work. Third, we have perfectionism. This often disguises itself as having high standards, which sounds noble. But in reality, it's a form of self-sabotage that paralyzes you. It creates an impossible benchmark of flawlessness, ensuring that your work is never good enough to be shared or completed. It's a clever mask for the fear of being judged. Perfectionism often whispers, "Wait until you're ready," or "It's not perfect yet." But the truth is, you'll never feel perfectly ready. A student might spend weeks endlessly revising the first paragraph of an essay, so consumed with getting it perfect that they never finish the rest of the paper and miss the deadline. The takeaway: chasing perfection often prevents you from achieving anything at all. The fourth reason is rooted in our identity. We all have a story we tell ourselves about who we are, and we instinctively act in ways that align with that self-concept. Our behaviors strive to be consistent with our beliefs. If someone deeply believes, "I'm just not a disciplined person," they will unconsciously find ways to prove that belief true. They might set a goal to wake up early, but then hit the snooze button repeatedly, reinforcing their identity as someone who lacks discipline. Their behavior automatically follows the script they've written for themselves. The takeaway here is that you cannot outperform your own self-image. Finally, the fifth reason is emotional avoidance. We often think we procrastinate on difficult tasks, but more frequently, we are procrastinating on the uncomfortable emotions the tasks trigger. It's not the task itself we're avoiding, but the feeling of boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, or confusion that comes with it. For example, you might put off doing your taxes, not because it's hard, but because it makes you feel anxious about your finances. Or you delay a difficult conversation, not because you don't know what to say, but because you want to avoid the feeling of conflict. The temporary relief we get from avoiding these feelings is a powerful, short-term reward that fuels the cycle of self-sabotage. The takeaway is simple. Procrastination is often an emotion management problem, not a time management problem. Motivation is temporary. Habits and systems outperform motivation. Here are two people. One waits, one prepares to act. One waits to feel motivated. The other starts with a 5-minute action every day. Consistency beats intensity. Now let's turn that into action. 5 quick strategies to rewire self-sabotage. Strategy 1. Shrink the goal. Instead of write a report, start with write 1 sentence. Strategy 2. Use environmental design. Remove distractions before starting. Strategy 3. Reward effort instead of outcomes. Celebrate showing up. Strategy 4. Challenge negative self-talk. Replace "I will never finish" with "I only need to start." Strategy 5. Accept discomfort. Explain to your brain that discomfort isn't proof something is wrong. It's often proof that growth has begun. The version of you that reaches your goals isn't someone who never feels fear. It's someone who learns that fear doesn't get the final decision. Every time you take one small action instead of avoiding it, you teach your brain something new. You prove that discomfort is survivable. You build confidence through action. And little by little, the habits that once held you back begin losing their power. You don't have to change your entire life today. Just make one small decision your future self will thank you for. For more insights like this, subscribe and share this video.